And here's a quick view of what we've had rolling. So the main exhaust pipes Dad had done locally, God, I bet in the 80s. The rear over the axle had actually rusted through. One of the mufflers went bad. So we were looking at it and he was like, well, I just want to drive it. So we pulled the rears out, threw some cheap mufflers on it, and let him go to town. And you can see that passenger side's pretty low compared to this side. And unfortunately it's poked a little hole in that primary up there. No big deal. Like I said, I'm going to use those clipster headers. Mainly because these long tube headers are just such a pain in the ass. There's the oil filter up in there. It's just a chore to get in there and do anything with. So, well, we're going to cut all this out. I may have to play with the transmission crossmember a little bit. Maybe build a new one. I don't know. We'll see. Because I want to get it tucked up nice and high. So we'll see how that works out for me. Well, here's all the bits we got. Raise Pros, stainless, stuff from Pypes, some clipster headers off of Amazon, big old box of stuff. So next step, let's get that Chevelle up in the air. Start working on, I'm going to change up projects a little bit, start working on putting the exhaust on the Chevelle. Welcome to the belly of the beast. So we are installing that Pypes kit, 2.5 inch stainless, the Race Pro mufflers, high mittens. I got my helper here. Starting to line it up. These tailpipes were actually pretty easy. You can see I got the Chevelle up on the ramps. They were easy to tuck up over the top. Follow the instructions. They're pretty clear. It's a little convoluted for that middle muffler mount here, right at the tail end of the mufflers. But excuse me, kitty. But it worked out pretty easy. Not terrible. I am working on the next side over. So I got 2 holes in the side of the frame for this lower mount. That little tab does not hit the other one. So I tried the upper hole, but it hit this bumper cross member here. So I put it in the lower hole, and it looks like it clears. So we'll go with that. Working on mounting the other side. Got that one hung. I'm going to work on that mount that goes on that cross member right in front of the mufflers. We'll get that hung and start lining stuff up. And if you look, let me wiggle you around a little bit. So I've got those screwy jack stands, and that'll help me hold things up in place as I start to slide all these bits together. And we'll see how stuff lines up. And then we'll get towards that that little X pipe thing. You see it dangling out there. Everything's just kind of shoved together for now until I get things tuckled where I want them. And we'll go from there. So far so good with this. Fucking easier than them headers. Still the same night. This went together remarkably good. Let it pan around a little bit. There we go. That's not too shabby at all. These forwards match up with the little dents in the cross member, so that's good. Got some decent clearance to the drive shaft. It's not too far back from the tail housing, so that's not terrible. It's not hanging down nearly as far as the other set was. So if you look, let's see if you can see. Yep, it's about even with the bottom of the tranny pan. So I got a little bit of wiggle room. So now comes the fun part. I went ahead and bought their head pipes. Of course, they're for stock manifolds, but gives me plenty of length to dork with and a bend. It looks like the passenger side is going to be that guy, so it's got about the right amount of bend. This driver's side, you can see he's pretty low, and the head pipe that they gave me has a pretty good 90-degree bend to her. And let me move this way a little bit. So I think I will be able to cut that on the radius somewhere. Maybe trim up that little collector extension the headers came with, and get all this stuff welded up. So this will be the fun part next, getting this head pipe together right after the headers. And then I will probably, I've just got the U-bolts snuggled just to keep stuff from flopping around too much. I can still grab this. Yeah, I lied. You can still grab some of them and give them a little twist if you need to adjust stuff, but it's not too bad. They'll still disassemble easy enough. And then I will probably go ahead and weld it up, because I hate exhaust leaks with a passion. So anyway, stay tuned. We're going to continue darking with this guy, and you guys have a good day. Take care. Well, Happy New Year, guys. Underneath the Chevelle, learning how to TIG weld. I had some scraps, so I played with that. Showed you guys how to get decently straight cuts. That worked out pretty well. The rest of the system is where I think I want it to be. So a couple changes from the way Pypes sends the kit. So I had these little extensions that were meant to go on the front. I put them back here, and what that does is it lets me get the X pipe forward a little bit. A little bit better clearance. I don't have to worry about the drive shaft hitting it or anything. Kind of cranked out a quick cross member. And then to connect these, I'm using these straight seamless clamps. And then what that'll do is you can undo these, undo the head pipes, drop this whole center section out, and then you can get in there and dork with transmissions. And then in the back, I used the stepped ones, so it still slides in there nicely, but then that should clamp it so that it doesn't leak, and I should still be able to get it apart. So if I ever want to change those mufflers or whatever, don't have to cut a whole bunch of stuff up. So from here, I'm going to start throwing a little TIG weld in there. Get a bunch of really good tacks in, maybe a couple of beads, and then drop it again. And then that way I can flop it over and get some decent positioning, because I can't weld out of position to save my life. So that's about where I'm at now. As soon as I get this tigged up, I'm going to move these clamps up. It kind of squeezes their little expanded area down. Get that gap a little closer so I don't have to try to TIG a gap, which is difficult. So from here, it's just a whole lot of torch time, and I think it's I got these clamped down here pretty good. Looks pretty good. I got some good clearance. Get my fingers through there, so I don't think it's going to wiggle too much. As far as deep, I am at the bottom of the pan, so hopefully that will do it. Well, stay tuned. We'll get you another picture after I throw some more welds on this thing. Well, here we are. Don't pay attention to these welds. I was way out of position, upside down in the car. I'll clean them up. These didn't come out too bad. They're sealed at least. So, I got it all out. It's tacked together really nice. I'm going to spend a little time here welding these up, trying to make them halfway pretty. The worst is trying to fill these little guys up, these expansion slots. But it's not terrible. It's doable. But that's about it. We're going to stick all this together. Well, it's all in the details, boys. There's always a little bit of a gap there between that aluminum piece and that stainless band on these gasketless clamps. I think a little bit of copper coat should take care of it, especially before the mufflers. I did not do it to the ones after the mufflers. We'll see if it's got a exhaust leak. We can always add a little bit more schmoo. Alright, final assembly coming up. Oh, fuck yeah, buddy! I know it's not summer, but who the fuck cares? A little smoky. Let her burn some of the oils and shit out of the inside of the exhaust. And no leaks. Does sound like I got one of those clampy dudes not quite sealed up, so we'll stick with that later. Fuck yeah.